guys, Cheryl here, or you can call me TerraCotta, it's my artist name. This December I'm making a watercolor Christmas card painting series, and it's basically how to paint the Christmas card. And you look around my channel, you know that I love animals, and so each of these Christmas cards is functioning around how to paint a different kind of animal or a bird. And so I'm going to be uploading a Christmas card tutorial every other day until Christmas. That's 12. I don't know if I can do 12, but I'm going to certainly try. Okay, so this is day one, and day one is a cardinal. This is the baby doll bird of the Americas, both North and South America. Okay, so you can see that I have a sketch in front of me. I've already transferred the sketch just to save some time. And here I have already put on some masking for some of the berries. And the berries that are going to have like a background of, color, I did put a little masking down. And then I have some other berries that I'm going to add in. Maybe, I don't know. I'm going to be very spontaneous with this. So what other supplies do we need? We do need some washi tape for our edging. This paper is a 6 by 9 inch or 15 by 23 centimeter. I do have also this Ecoline Watercolor Ink that I will be using at the end to get some of my whites back. You can use gouache too. It's very similar. I do like the ink better just because I get more coverage with it. Okay, what else do I need? I need brushes, of course. So these are my favorite too. I use these all the time. So I have a silver black velvet. It's a size 4. It's quite fine. And then I have a nail brush. It's a 000. It's real. I could get, like the pupil of the eye and, fine feathering on the wings. So this is a nail brush. I just got it at the dollar store. I don't absolutely need this, but I'm going to be putting in a background, and it's nice to put in a quick swipe of water, and so I do like my big 2-inch wide brush. If you have a smaller brush, that'll be fine. This is too small because you'll have a spotty background if you use that kind of brush for a background wash. Okay, so I think we're ready to begin. One other thing that I do have that you will want, I do have 2 glasses of water, clean water. One is for rinsing my brush, and the other is for bringing fresh water onto my palette. And now, let's get our colors ready. So I like a simple palette. So this particular painting is just going to have 5 colors, plus the Ecoline white. So only 5 colors, so let's start putting the colors out, and let me hydrate them first. Okay, so our first color is going to be Indanthrene blue. Look at that beautiful color. I just love that color. I use it all the time. I think that's one of my signature colors. Another color is Perylene red. By the way, these are all Daniel Smith except one color, and I'll point it out. So together they make great purples, and I can almost get a black. I need a lot of the Perylene because it's for the cardinal. Then I'm going to be using a Serpentine green. I love this. It's so gorgeous. That's just a beautiful color right there. And this is a green gold. This color is my Winsor Newton. All the others are Daniel Smith. And I can combine to get some kinds of oranges. I can get olives with a lot of these color combinations. Just so many varieties of color with just these 4 colors. And then the other color, which you don't see just yet, because it's for this post at the end, and that is the raw sienna. And I don't want to put any raw sienna anywhere except in the earthy part. So I don't want the raw sienna in my, of course in the sky or in my cardinal. All other colors, there will be, the background, the foreground, these 4 colors will be everywhere, but not the raw sienna. Okay, so let's begin with blocking in the white. We're not blocking in the white. We're going to just dampen the background of our cardinal. That's what we're painting first. And we'll make it, is that a little bit dirty? So we'll dampen the background, and then when it's really, you know, there's a nice sheen of water, then we will start dropping in our colors and let the canvas just paint itself. So I am just being really careful just around the areas where I don't want the water, I don't want the water to travel up into the face, and I don't want it to travel off my bird. So I'm just being really careful with this edging. Okay, so I've got my first layer in, but there is absolutely no sheen. So we have to go again, and this time maybe we'll get the sheen. Otherwise we'll have to do a third swipe of water. And this was a good idea to block in, to mask my, my berries, because now I can just wipe some water over them, and it's really easy. I don't have to paint around them. Let's see if we can see a sheen. You can see a buckle. It's not a bad buckle, but you can see. So I pretty much got a sheen everywhere. I'll just put a little bit more water. Okay, I'm going to do this edging one more time. This time I'm going to make it a little bit rougher. Like the feathers are there. This part of the back is really important to have a nice smooth line. And do I want... Yes, okay. Okay, so now I'm ready. I'm going to be putting in my reds. I don't want it creamy. I want there to be a bit of water in this mixture because red is pretty loud. We can always add more, but it's harder to take away if you add too much, and it just becomes a sea of red. So I don't want a sea of red. Okay, you can see that I have that rough texture right there, which is cool. I love the paper paint itself. I love that. Okay, so let's drop in a little bit more. Now if I make a line, it's not going to, oh, better. I don't want a lot of red down here. It's going to be lighter. I do like tapping just because I can get more color. It's so cool how the paper just is being painted. I just love it. And I want a smooth edge here, so I'm going to drag my brush. And I also want a smooth edge along the holly. And you know, there's holly and there's mistletoe. So this is holly, I think. Yes, this is holly. And the mistletoe has the white flowers, the white berries. But my holly, this time, instead of getting red berries, is going to get white berries because it'll contrast with that bird. Okay. So, right along the edge. Good. So there's going to be a little bit of yellow in here, so let me put a little bit more red. Now I'm going to get some of this green gold, mix it with a little bit of the red, maybe a little more green gold, and I'm going to see what kind of yellow I can get there. I have two reference pictures, one for the position and another for the color and another for the tail. Oh yeah, I have more than two. Okay. And let's try that for now. And I think I'm going to add red over on this side and red on the other side. And maybe I will purple some of the, ooh, that's dirty. I'm going to take some red and purple it a little bit. That's nice. And I'm going to go right along the edge and let that edge kind of paint itself. And you can see kind of a black forming. And now I'm going to pick up a bit of blue and just tap in a little bit more. Okay, so let's now build up our reds. So I'm bringing in some more of that Perylene red and putting a little purple. Oh yes, I like that. So now we're going to build up our color. And I'm going to bring in a little more purple for this area. Breast area. And right along the base it's going to be darker because there's supposedly maybe a shadow there. And let's get the plum look. Let's go for a little bit more plum here on beside the wing. And a little bit up in here. The head. Okay, so let's drop in just a little bit of color. And supposedly there's going to be a line along where the wing is, so I'm going to start building that up, see if I can get the idea. I'm going to put a little bit more red in that tail while it's damp. Purple that a little bit, and I have to be careful because there's yellow there. The yellow will become dirty with the purple, so I think I'll back off a little bit. So putting in a shadow under these berries so we can get pretty good color there later. Too dark. So I want the plum here for parts of, like the wing. Give an impression of feathers there later, and that's enough. The tail is bothering me. And now that's pretty good. And I'm just going to soften this area because I don't want it to have like sharp lines like it does. So when I soften it, just take a wet brush, dab it, and then touch it, and so I don't have a hard edge. Lift color if I have to. There we go. I think I want to put in a little more red here so it's not just all that yellow. And again, I don't want hard edges there. Now I have blooms starting here, and that's cool because it's feathers and it's not a problem. So it's quite damp. Ooh, I went out of the line. Oh, I can put some of the Ecoline and retrieve that, so it's not a problem. Nothing's a problem. Everything can be fun and we can have a great time. Put a little bit more here, and I'm going to call it quits. Okay, that's enough. We'll let that dry and then we'll paint other areas and come back and drop in some color if we need to. So let's now paint our leaves. So I'm going to change the water. A little bit dirty. Okay, we're going to paint our leaves, and you might want a smaller brush. I'm going to use my size 4, but I'm just going to use the very tip of it. So paint, just going to get that wet to begin with, and then I can drop in some color. Now I'm not going to get it wet every time, each leaf wet every time, but I start that way, and then I can get some of these finer, hydrate those things. Just because it's a fine line, might be easier to dampen the paper first and then drop in the color. Okay, so now hydrate that. So then I want green next to the yellow, to the red. Bring that over. So I'm going to add some blue just to intensify that green. It's going to become more like holly. And now it's going to just go blue. That's a beautiful color, man. Definitely a Christmas color. So I just want to intensify some of those edge colors, and that will be cool. Okay, so that's the first one, and now let's paint from the back forward maybe. So the lighting is coming from this angle. So on this side we're going to have a lighter color, so I'm going to start with the green gold here. And I'm just going to take my brush and wash that out, kind of have it diluted. Would be helpful if I had the finer brush, I think. I'm having a hard time seeing my line. Now we're going to paint this one, and I'm going to make this one, going to add a little bit of the red. It's going to be a little bit dirty because when these colors, the red, the yellow, and the green mix, it's kind of like a curdling. It makes texture, but it will be pretty. So I'm going to start with this color. And now get my green gold and mix that in. And grab some greens. And these two colors are looking too similar, so we're going to grab some blue and put it under there. And we've got our shadow. Okay. So next one is, and this one's underneath, so this is going to be, let's say this one's really dark because it's underneath, so it'll be very blue. Okay, we're going to start with our green gold at the tip, move that to a green, and now we're going to just go dark. And I'm going to put in some of this red here. Oh yeah. I guess that's okay. So next one, let's make it lighter because this is looking very heavy right now. So we're going to start over here, and this will be a light color. And I think I'm going to put in a little bit of red here. Need a little more green, perhaps. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay, we'll stick with that. Okay, let's finish our bird. Okay, so we have our reds, and we're going to need to put in some wings, some purple a little bit, some of that red. That's nice. It's a nice plummy look. So I want it a little bit redder maybe. Yes. So I'm going to put in just some Actually, I'm thinking that it's pretty dark. I hope it's not too dark. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not too dark. Okay, so I'm going to take my smaller brush and put in some lines on this lower part, this lower area. And as soon as that dries, I'll put some red between. Right now I'm a little bit afraid. So just gonna build in a little bit of like feathering just here and there, not a lot. Where's my red? I work better with a larger brush. Okay. Take that and push those colors out, and now I have a brighter red there. And that makes the wing pop a little bit. I'm taking damp brush and just pushing colors around. And yeah, I think it's okay. I don't see any like hard edges, so it's gonna be fine. And I have blooms here. I would like to get rid of some of those. Taking my brush, I'm going to smooth this out. And I'm going to get a little more intensity up near the head. Just right in this area. Just below the beak. Just want it bright. Okay. And I think this is dry enough, so I'm going to add a little bright red to some of the lower part of the feathers. Okay, so enough. Just making sure I don't have hard edges here. Okay. Smoothing that out. Okay, let's paint the beak, and the beak is going to be a red. So I don't want it too red, but I do want to have a red streak right in the middle. So I'll put red right in the middle on that line that I drew and make a couple of parallel lines. And then I'm going to come over, pick up a little of that green gold and paint beneath it, and then get an orange, hopefully. I want more red. And now, paint red on the top. Go get some of that green gold. And I'm going to add just a little bit more red. And while it's still damp, I'll add the line between the beaks. I'll come back later when it's drier. I'm going to clean up some of these edges on my holly. It's not necessary, but I want to. Grab some dark green there and pop that edge. I don't need to outline everything, but maybe the peak, there's a point, and then just put a little bit of contrast. And this will be bluer down here on the lower leaf. And I see I can just blend that out a little bit darker, get more contrast. Take my fatter brush and pull those colors out. That looks better. That way the colors pop a bit. And I'm going to do the same for this one. There. Okay, I think this is dry enough. Yes, we can put in our blue for the nose, or for the for the beak. And I'm gonna get a blue wash and make sure it's quite light. So for the first, just put in a light blue wash. Make sure I like the shape. And then right along the edge of that beak, I'm going to add some color. And I need to purple that a little bit because I don't want just blue there, I want some purple blue. I definitely want it more purple. Okay, so I'm going to blue and I'm going to outline that eye. And Should make it as dark as I can and hope I get it right the first time. So the eye is going to have a pupil in it, and there will be some white ring around most of the eye. Not that much white ring, so I have to get rid of some of it. Okay, so we're going to have to make this a little bit darker. And the eye got messed up a little bit, so I'll have to retrieve some of that back, some of the white back. And I can do that with the Ecoline later, or if you're using gouache, that will work just fine. Okay, so let's put in some more purple, blue, just to make some different feather shapes. And I'm going to darken that just a bit because it's looking rather monotonous in color. Just a couple that are darker so we get some good shadow there. And when I'm touching in like beside a feather, I'm only touching in one side of the feather, not both sides. So it accents. I'll let that sit for a minute and then I'll wipe it out or wash it, but there will be some staining of that pattern there. And do I want to do that also here? Right, I do. When I'm painting, I found that red is one of those colors that fades a lot between the wet to the dry stage, and that's why I have to put on several layers here. Okay, so let's put in a little bit more shadow here. Soften that. I think this is pretty well looking good. Okay, so I'm going to soften this a little bit more now. Yes. And bring in a little bit of purple in that area. Damp brush. Push the color away. And I'm going to push some color away from the top so it's lighter there. There we go. I'm trying to lift a little bit of color just so it's not just a solid color, and that adds a little more interest. Let's lift a little more. I'm going to lift a little bit here on the breast. Okay. Let's wrap things up. So let's put in our post, and I'm going to get this damp first, and I'm just roughing it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to take my raw sienna and just drag it down. And a color that beautifully like shades and shadows that is this Indanthrene blue. I'll take my small brush and make that nice and even. Picking up some more of that blue, and I'm just going to heighten some areas. I think I'm going to pop in just a little bit of green. Old wood. So I still need some more contrast, so I'm going to go back and get some more of that raw sienna. That's pretty thick. Okay. Drop in some more of that green. Off screen, you can't see the kitchen towel I have in my left hand, but I'm constantly touching my brush onto that. Maybe I have a little bit too much pigment or too much water in the brush. I'm trying just to have a damp brush, but this is my method when I'm painting, and you just can't see that because I've zoomed in so much. Okay, we're going to have some fun with our background now. So I'm going to let this all dry. We're going to get our background wet. I'll deal with the bottom in a minute. Okay, so let me make sure that everything is wet, and then I'll drop in a little bit of color around the holly. Ooh, dirty brush. That works. It does work. And drag those colors down. Just making sure that the whole background is damp. Okay, so how are we going to do the sky? That is a nice gray, and I'm just going to paint it around. And then we have a purpley gray. Let's put it on the side. Okay. And to avoid any of the hard edges, I'm going to take my brush and just push the water right up next to the cardinal or the holly. That way I won't have any hard edges where the paint stops and dries. I want a gray, not a gross brown. That is pretty gray. Let's try a larger brush. The colors I'm using are kind of a red purple and a blue purple, but they've been desaturated with a little bit of green. And now what is really cool is, where is my Ecoline? I actually really like the Ecoline much more than the gouache, although I do use gouache. For this kind of wet into wet, the gouache is going to cloud out a little bit. The Ecoline will stay more put. It will bleed out and be a little softer on the edge, but the gouache will kind of cloud and mist, so you get totally different effects. That said, maybe you want that kind of effect. I use gouache separately and in different ways. If I want whiskers, I will go to the Ecoline, just because I have more control and I can get a finer line. And that's just an FYI. Okay, for some of those final touches, we do need to get that pupil back in the eye, maybe a little ring around the eye in parts, or some feathers. We can also add some white edging around some of the ivy. Just paying attention to the contrast. So if everything is mid-tone, that's not cool, so just get the darks and the lights, and then we can be pretty happy with our little cardinal. The focal point of this painting is really the face. So I'm intensifying some of those little dark shadows around the beak, making sure that the line on the beak is really clear, and also that the eye is really clear. Okay, so it's time to take off the masking, and you can just use your finger for this. If you have sensitive fingers and you get blisters easily, just put your finger in a plastic bag and then use the plastic to rub. To paint my berries, I actually mixed in a little bit of the Ecoline, and this works well with gouache too. So you touch in a little bit of paint, color, and mix it with your Ecoline, which is very opaque. Mix it up, it's very creamy. Put it on a berry and then start mixing in slowly your other colors, leaving one side to be very bright and then make the other dark. And you've got a very round, beautiful berry. For the berries that have the white background, I didn't use so much Ecoline, maybe just a little bit. But for the others that are going to pop against a dark background, I used that white Ecoline to give kind of a creamy, soft pink, and then I could put in a dark shadow under some areas. So the Ecoline was really effective for making the berries look rounded when there's a dark background. So now is the moment of the great reveal when we can take off that washi tape and we can see our creation. So guys, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I hope your cardinal is beautiful, and I hope you're coming back for more tutorials because I have more coming. And if you do like this kind of tutorial in watercolor and acrylic also on how to paint animals, I'm opening a channel on Patreon in January, and it's dedicated to this kind of art. So if you're interested, you can check it out. And until then, I hope you have beautiful dreams and your paint buckets are never empty.